Hey everyone, welcome to the ZWOOLENS Studio Buzz podcast. My name is Doc and I am coming to you from Albuquerque in New Mexico, and this is a podcast about all the woolly things, and I am the dyer behind ZWOOLENS. I'm glad I get to spend this time with you. It's a little bit of a different setup today because I've spent the majority of this day here in my studio in the garage, and I was thinking, hey, I try this for a change, but the sun caught up with me, and so I'm kind of fiddling a little bit with the camera direction, and hopefully this light here does not bother us too much, but it should be moving out of the picture and not into it. So like I said, I've been dyeing all day pretty much, but now it's time to sit down and talk about all the yarny things that have been happening in the past 2 weeks since I last sat down to chat with you. I have worked on a few things, and most of them you know, and one of them being my CUMULOUS blouse by Petite Knit. I did not work much on this, but this is my go-to project when I need something simple, because it's just stockinette in the round from this point. I mean, you see I've been here already a good bit into the body, and I'm at the end of the second skein of yarn, and I am using KELBOURNE Woolens. The yarn, I guess it's the base that's called Scout, and I really like working with it. It's just, I mean, it's getting hot. I don't mind working with wool when it gets warm, but it's not priority. You know what I mean? So I'll just, from time to time, work with this. I also have cast on my new PINO, and finally in one of my favorite colors, in turquoise. It's in the bag from my friend Mel, and this is the pattern. I wrote this up as a free pattern, and you can find it on Ravelry. I am making it with 5mm needles, which is US. I wrote it down somewhere. I don't know. You'll find. This should be in the pattern. What have I done? Only says 5mm. Sorry. I'm not far. I am making this one also in my Sugarloaf yarn. This is a one-of-a-kind dye. I think I over-dyed a light blue because I had just discovered speckles and how much fun they are to knit with, and so I wanted to speckle this. And you can't see much, but I have put in the beads already. That's my beginning of the round marker, and oh my gosh, yes, last night I worked on this. I was really tired, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, one more round, and all of a sudden I get to this point where I have a massive hole. It was the spot where there should have been a yarn over and a two together and a yarn over, and it was just one massive yarn over. Don't ask me what I did, how I did that. I probably fell asleep while I was knitting or something. No idea. But I can't believe it. I managed to fix it. It was a little bit crazy, kind of 10 minutes before I went to bed. Whew. But I can't wait to see this one. I probably talked about this before. In 2 weeks we have Albuquerque Fiber Arts Fiesta here at the fairgrounds, and I mean, it's inside, not outside, but if you are local, and then I hope you put this on your calendar, because it's always such a fun show. Do come and say hi to me. Come to my booth. I will have a booth where I sell yarn. Give me a hug. I love to meet you all. And if you don't want to chat about yarn, which I like to do, you can still just walk around and enjoy a ton of exhibits. There are all the fiber related guilds in Albuquerque are participating. We have the silk painters, we have doll makers, we have felting, we have spinning and weaving, knitting, of course, we have crochet, we have rug hooking, and that's the guild that I belong to. We have the machine knitters, which I'm in the process of joining the machine knitters, and I am also I want to rejoin the spinners and weavers, Las Arañas, because it's just good to meet the people who are interested in the same, or passionate about the same fiber art that you are passionate about. But yeah, I'm totally always enjoying the exhibits, even though I'm as a vendor, you don't get to walk around that much. But kindly, two super good friends of mine have offered to help, and I know if I'd ask, more of them would help me. And I know we're gonna have a lot of fun. And actually, both my friends have made items with my yarn and will be bringing them to the show, so I can have them in the booth, which is always nice, because then I can show you how it looks like knitted up. That's kind of the whole purpose of the thing. So yeah, I'm going to be in the booth with my friends, but we're at times, I don't know if we may be the three of us at the same time, but then it's good to take turns, and it gives us a little more time to enjoy the exhibits, or also just to hang out and chat about yarn and talk about what we made and what we want to make and all that good stuff. You know how it goes when knitters sit together. What is next? So these are all the things that I'm also trying to finish for Fiber Arts Fiesta. I would like to get this finished to have it for display and to wear, but I'm also working on that little baby cardigan that I showed you before. I picked it back up. I decided on a buttonhole style, and I'm gonna tell you more about that in a second. I'm making this with a Zia Wool's singles yarn. It's a really nice, I feel like it was a custom dye, but it's so fun because it's slightly variegated, but it has a few gentle neon speckles, which makes it fun to, it just gives it a little more interest when you work. And so this is what it looks like so far. I am making this with 3mm needles, and I started, let me show you like this. I started with the color in seed stitch. And I'm sorry, no pattern. I am making this up because I once made a similar one for friends a few years ago and it turned out so nice. So I thought, oh, that's a good one. And I can't promise you that I'm gonna have the time to write this up, because if I don't do it right away, it usually doesn't happen, which is kind of sad, but sometimes that's the way it goes. So the first button is going to be here, so the collar pops open. Hold on, I'm doing it the wrong way. Pops open like this, which looks really cute. So where was I? Oh yes, I worked on this last night. I spent last night at the yarn store because we have the yarn crawl happening in New Mexico right now, and my yarn store had, at the yarn store at Nob Hill, they had a kickoff party last night, so of course I had to go. And I was, you know, we were just all sitting and chatting and eating and knitting, of course. And so I kept going on this, and I made my way to the second buttonhole down here. And then I decided that I think I have enough stitches for the sleeve. I kind of want this for as a late summer or maybe summer already or early fall garment, so nothing huge. So I was thinking it might be big enough for the sleeves. Actually, I have measurements for baby sweaters, so I may just compare just to be on the safe side. But yes, it is coming along. And it lives in my bag, my beautiful bag from Debbie. And you see how tiny this project is. I mean, this is, I think, intended as a sock bag, but, you know, it's kind of half empty. Well, I still gotta knit more, but still. That is that. So I showed you the sweater, I showed you the PINO, I showed you that, and then of course I finished the shawl, the lace shawl for my mother. Picot, 800 stitches roughly, and a PINO and a picot edge. That's a lot of edge. That took me a long time. Plus, I'm sorry, I can do that for 1 hour. I'm stretching it, maybe one and a half, maybe maximum 2. That's what I did at a time. But I could not do more at a time. So I didn't even do only the edge of the shawl in one evening. And so I think it took me 1.5 weeks, definitely over a week. But it's done. I took it off the guest bed in upstairs, and of course I found a cat sleeping on it as I came up there, right? You know how cats are. But I really like how it turned out. I cannot even tell if yes, I'm showing you the right side. I know nothing about lace, so I did not expect a few things about this, what happened with this pattern. So for one, is, one thing is that this top edge, zero give, zero. But maybe that's supposed to be that way. I don't know. There's nothing said. You know how sometimes instructions say, yes, make sure you get your last stitch stretchy and loose and do a yarn over and drop it again and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if the intention is, so I had to get the lace blocked. See that? I had to block it totally in a curvy shape, and even the last bit curled in like this, which is totally fine. I was just not expecting it. And in fact, the funny thing was that just last night at the yarn store, they had a shawl which turned out to be also a Boonitz on display, Boonitz design on display, and I think it had a similar shape. It was kind of shallow, it was long, but you could see that the shape was kind of curling at the tips. So I decided this is beautiful, but next time I want to make a traditional triangular lace shape. I need to do that. But there's so many things that I want to do. You're not gonna believe it. What I already have been plotting and thinking about and all of that. But did I say the pattern name? Sun Showers Boonitz. I did not say that I've used my yarn, which is one of my lace yarns. It's called Willow. It is a non-superwash merino, 100% merino, and you get about 1,200 yards in one skein. And as you can imagine, I have quite a bit of leftovers from this. Yes, it's a custom color. Almost all my lace yarns I dye in one-of-a-kind colorways. Then I have been working on my song blanket. The other one of the new designs that I published as free pattern about 2 weeks ago. And I picked this up kind of like when I need just a little bit of fun, mindless, without a deadline knitting, where I just want to play with colors and have fun with how I can combine them, and because I just don't need to think, don't want to think. I mean, that's what I do. That's when I knit on this mainly. This is where I am right now. I love it so very much. I am using up all the colors to the last bit. I am holding 2 yarns together, and I am making the double center decrease stitch that you see on the front is purled on the back, and that's how you have the very well-defined knit stitch here going as a diagonal. What else did I want to tell you? Oh yes, one of the, I'm always holding together a hand-dyed yarn and a commercial sock yarn, mostly German, because I get a lot of those from my mom. We did start a knit along, and there's already a bunch of really nice ones out there. I call it it's just when you look for the hashtag song blanket, or of course you go to the project page on Ravelry, and there's one German friend, oh my gosh, she's already knitted twice as many as I have. Hers is already a mini blanket. But I have to say, she knits exclusively on her song blanket, which is understandable too. Really fun. And I have this in one of my bags. I had this fabric for a long time. It was kind of funny because I really like it. I like the pinup fabrics, and I wanted this bag for myself forever. And now I finally have it. That's why I use it. Not just on Halloween. Halloween cats on the back. That was the song blanket. What is next? I gotta think. Oh yes, I made a thing. I made another thing. I have a friend who, well, our kids grew up for a few years together, and it was in America. She's German, both her and her husband. Then they moved away, but we always stayed in touch, and we're equally passionate about knitting, and so we try to make each other something, send each other something handmade for birthdays. And this year I just had the hardest time. I just could not come up with anything. And just a little while ago, all of a sudden I finally had some inspiration, and I picked up a book, a crochet book, which I really love. Let me show you. Crochet Inspiration by Sasha Kagan. Is that how you say it? And what I love about the book is it has a beautiful aesthetic. Everything comes with a gorgeous picture. There's a few projects also, which I don't really do, but I thought, oh, I'm gonna make for my friend, I'm gonna use some hand spun yarn. I'm gonna make flowery motifs and stitch them onto a table runner or something. That was how I started off with. But then all of a sudden I had an inspiration, and I changed my mind, and let me show you what I made. You're gonna say it's a dream catcher, but it's not really, honestly, because it may have subconsciously influenced my mind, but it was not my intention. I wanted to make something decorative then, and I have a lot of these vintage bag handles that I've collected over the years whenever I found some in thrift stores usually. And so I grabbed some hand spun yarn, and you can probably see that this was a really cute little skein. I have a large bin of leftovers, but in that bin are also small amounts of sample spun yarns, and sometimes it's maybe from a little bat, something I carded, or maybe I spun some Rolex and I wanted to try and see how that's done. So this one, you can tell it has a bit of lime green chartreuse and a little bit of pink. And so that was all that yarn I had as far as that whitish goes. And then I picked another small ball of yarn and added 2 more rounds, and that's where I improvised. That center was the pattern that was in the book, and then I added 2 more rounds and finished with a round of single crochet. And I have to say, this looked so small when I initially made it that I brought in 2 size handles, and thought it was going to be the small one, but it was not. I had to use the large one. I mean, I wanted it to be nicely tensioned, and what I used was this leather band that I probably also found at a thrift store at some point. But the cool thing was that it was very long, all in one piece. And one of the ends was, it almost felt like it had been dipped into nail polish or a lacquer finish or something. So it was fairly hard. So I could easily thread it through the tips of this crochet motif here. Then when I was done and I saw this, I thought, yeah, that's great. I need to add some beads somehow. And I also thought of a wall hanging, even though I'm thinking, I hope she's going to hang it so it maybe blows in the wind or something. See, like this. And like I said, I wanted to add beads, but seriously, no. The beads, this loosens. I gotta do something about this. It already came open. I have, that's fairly heavy yarn. I just choose random bits from my hand spun leftovers, and I thought, I'm not so sure. The yarns are fairly fat already, so I didn't know how to attach the bead, and I don't even think it needs it. It does not need beads. So I hope she's gonna like it. Oh yeah, and this morning, because sometimes I had very tiny leftovers of yarn wound on small balls. And so what I did, I just held this whole bundle of yarn under the running water this morning and then I kept it hanging over the sink and just to stretch it out a little bit. Yep. I'm happy with it. I hope she's gonna like it. That is this, and that is a fine, what's the word? I can't think of the word now. It's a fine transition into hand spinning. I told you that I have a half stretcher now. I know, I'm a very, very lucky woman. So to have an appropriate hap to use on the hap stretcher, I thought it should be hand spun yarn. And I had this dyed stuff that I blended on the drum carder, and I finished spinning this. Just last night I figured out how much yardage I used for my first hap, and it is 440 yards. Guess how much this is? 410. The first hap, it's rather more than less, so I'm not gonna push it and play yarn chicken, not in this case. I got this beautiful bat that I showed you probably 4 weeks ago from my friend Sherry, where I'm thinking I may use that. That might be a beautiful one. I'm not sure when I'm gonna get to it, because when I spin that, I want to spin it all in one and not spin a bobbin, then travel, and then spin another bobbin, because I want to make sure that I'm consistent, because it's so beautiful that I don't want to mess it up. I do have another skein of hand spun that I brought to show you, and it's so very special because Zia Wools is now the proud owner of an electric stroke drum carder. So this is a kind of like a new journey that begins for me. I've always wanted an upgraded drum carder because mine I thought was too coarse for what I would have loved to make. So I can't wait to play more with that. It comes with a letter that says it may still have grease from assembly on the drums, so not to use something special for the first go. And I grabbed some brown stuff. I mean, first of all, you need to know that this thing was sitting on my other studio in the house, my studio work table where I cut fabrics and stuff. It was just sitting there, and for days it just put a smile on my face when I walked by. I hadn't even turned it on. It could not, for all I knew, it may not have worked. Who knows? Stuff happens during shipping. It worked once I finally turned it on. So I decided to put on some brown fluff and some colors. So I have assembled a bin for myself where I put in some leftover bits and pieces that I have accumulated over the years, some sample dyed stuff and whatnot. And so I made my first little bat, and of course I had to spin it right away. And that's from that. I think I had a brown alpaca wool blend, and the pinkish orangish color is a merino, and then there's just little bits of this and that I threw in for color. There's a little bit of green and whatnot. Oh, so fun. Yep, first one. It's just about 38 grams, something like that. I wasn't really paying attention to what I did, I mean, in that regard, and it's probably a sport weight. That didn't matter either. Wasn't important, you know. It was just a little place game, special first from Drum Carded. I wanted to show you also, yeah. I'm gonna laugh about me. Okay, here's future projects. I am thinking about making a vest for my friend Gordon, who made me the hap stretcher, gifted me the hap stretcher. So he is so nice. He adores his wife, and so I asked him, Gordon, can I knit something for you? What about a pair of socks? I thought that's something that I can get done and get it to him soon. But he's like, oh no, I wouldn't wear the socks. Make me, no, he said, but Bina would like some. Yeah, his wife. He was thinking about his wife first. So nice. And but then I keep on thinking about what I could do for him to make him happy. And I'm thinking I may make him a sleeveless vest, because that way it's not too warm, but also he's gonna be, I think he's the kind of guy who wears a lot of button shirts, and that's kind of nice over shirts like that, right? And so I thought I'm gonna make it with this bulky yarn, where I don't know, I just don't know how much I'm gonna need. So I'm thinking this is 2 8-ounce skeins, where I'm sure I'm not gonna run out of yarn, because it's gonna be sleeveless, and at the same time, I think I mean, he's not a big guy, you know, so I know I don't need to be worried about the yarn, about the amount of yarn. I can't remember last time I worked with bulky yarn, which this is. This was just, it's some bulky organic yarn that I wanted to try, and I was thinking about adding to the shop, but then I thought, what am I even thinking? We're in New Mexico. How often do we need that? I'm gonna see, oh, man. Then I'm thinking, well, what if it's a lot of yarn and it could be a cardigan? I don't know. I'll think about this and make a decision. Also, you know, I have been combing the wool from the New Mexican Rambouillet sheep, and I have filled this and started another container. It is, I have it here in the garage in the dye studio, and I just, whenever I have a minute and I sit, I put out a comfy chair so then I can sit and just comb a few bits here and there as I have time. And you can see that I am not good at, I'm not very good at dizzing off the top, but we're gonna break this here. And I just keep going because I don't even know how much I have, but I would like to get a lot ready to spin for consistency again, and so I don't mess it up because it's so nice. And I would really like to have enough for a large shawl. I think I told you that before. Maybe a lace shawl. So I was at the yarn store yesterday, and before I went, somehow in the afternoon I was thinking about, what am I going to knit next? Oh, let's find this pattern for that green gray shawl, and I just could not for the life of me find that pattern. I don't know what I did with it. I printed it out again, which was kind of bad because it was 12 pages, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And I am talking about the Sagita. I don't know how that's said. It is originally made with one main color, and then they used gradients, and I think the grays are the gradients, but there are so many different beautiful versions on Ravelry, so you can just go and get inspired. I was at the yarn store for the kickoff party for the New Mexico fiber crawl, which is happening over this weekend. By the way, I go demo spinning tomorrow. I'll be at the yarn store at Nob Hill, so if you are in the area, probably nobody's watching this between now and then, but that's where I'll be tomorrow. I'm not even going to be able to publish that fast, never mind me. So, but what I meant to say is I was at the yarn store last night, and I thought, then the owner, she comes around and she's like, hey, I just wanted to say, and you have 10 more minutes to purchase something, but it would be really nice. We're $5 short of $1,000. It would be so nice if we could say we made $1,000 today. So of course we all get up, try to do our duty. What do? I don't buy something for $5. I buy something for $75. Goodness gracious. And I was so good. I was looking at yarn, petting them. Decided I'm not buying anything because heck yes, I have yarn. I'm not running out any time in the next 20 years, if we are completely honest. Okay, enough of that. I don't want to feel guilty because we all need beautiful yarn in our lives, okay? It makes us happy. And sometimes you just gotta support your local yarn store, and that's what I did. I bought yarn for possibly mating that Sagita shawl. This green I have really craved since I first saw it, which was months ago. And then I wanted a contrasting color. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to combine it in that shawl, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to make that shawl. I'll figure out a way to use it for that. And the yarn is a 75/25 alpaca polyamide. Super soft, incredibly soft. Oh, it's by Juniper Moon Farm. It's called Harriet Fine. Oh, this green. And then I was looking at a dark rust color that someone actually who was there last night had already combined with this for a project, where I thought, oh, that sounds fantastic, looks fantastic. I'm just not that rusty brown kind of person, so it was not, but these two spoke to me. So I'm looking forward to making that. And even if I also wanted to make that shawl maybe with some of my yarn, so I will see which will happen first. Something beautiful for sure. As we know, we all love our yarny makings. I have had more ideas. Goodness, just give me time to think about knitting and I'll find something else. You know how I said I was not so sure about that shape for that shawl? I have already found a few patterns for that traditional triangular lace shawl that I'm gonna make next. But first, and you hold me accountable, first I have to finish my Whiteout shawl by Melanie Berg. So all these other things came up, so I just couldn't. But that's going to be next instead of the lace project that I just finished, Mom's Sun Showers shawl. And after that, I have pulled out a few patterns to make one of these. And most, if not all of these, were free patterns from Ravelry. Concert. So the first one was Gale. This one is Concert. This is Ode. I hope you can see that. Here's Sea Willow shawl. Is that gorgeous? I don't think I would have bought that already, not having it, because I put stuff in my queue on Ravelry and I only buy when I'm really ready to cast on, except for the Sagita. I think I wanted to cast that on and then I didn't. Yeah, must have been. So those are the lace ones that I wanted to show you for inspiration. And then I'm sure I showed you this one before. It's the Drifter. I think that's the next one I will cast on with one of Zia Wool's yarns. And in fact, I have already picked maybe one colorway. This is the Dancing Dog. And there are two more that I have made in the dog series. I mean, there's Lucky Dogs, which are the one-of-a-kinds, but I have also a Desert Dog, which I have not dyed in a while, but today I created a new one which is called Underdog, and that is so beautiful. So I thought I was going to use this one for the drifter, but I may have to use the the Underdog, which is still wet in the pan. It needs to be rinsed. It was cooling down. And then maybe with either a neon green. Well, I'll see. I will tell you. I promise I will show you whatever it is that I decide on. I found another really cool pattern, and I can't remember. I can't remember. I didn't write it down if it was free, but I thought it was so cute. Isn't that adorable? You know, I have the Beekeeper series, and I'm thinking I have to do something with this. Even though I don't do color work. Maybe I could do color work after all. I don't know. The Pyha Lepa hat by Raina Cruz. But it's in English. I don't know where she's from. Oh, Estonia. Wow. She's in Estonia, the designer, apparently. That's so cool. Okay, I hope I did not rush too much, but the light has been going away. Can you even still see me? I kept the garage open, as I told you, and now the sun is completely gone, and we're working with this light, which is really not good. So I hope it was still fine for you. I just preferred to record today and have that so I could have it up for you earlier. I hope you are all well. I thank you as always for your comments and for saying hi to me. Find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as PAPERDAG. Please friend me, join the ZeroWoolens group, and I will start a thread for the song blanket in the ZeroWoolens group so we can all show each other our blanket pictures. And at the end of August, I will have a little giveaway for that for that knit along. So until I see you again in about 2 weeks, I hope you are well, and I hope you're gonna have fun with your knitting projects, and happy knitting. Bye.